All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Amherst Historic Preservation Commission meeting for February 11th, 2025. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mancuso,
Present.
Ampleman,
Present.
Swartz,
Here.
Waterman Culpa,
Here.
Hershey, Kenzie,
Here.
Wright.
Here.
For resource, Stiver. For the town, Mayor Nucci, Fidel here, Quinn. And that's it.
All right, thank you. First item is our minutes approval from our special meeting on January 30th. Everyone like to take a minute? Yeah, I think because the item is adjourned, it's still open, and we weren't issued minutes for that. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
What do you mean there's no minutes?
Right? There's no minutes from that meeting?
No, there was some. Yeah. Look.
No, the regular meeting after, but minutes for the special meeting.
Yeah. It's just 2 pages.
I see. Oh, okay. It's the first page. So I rescind my motion. Thank you.
I could make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 7-0. Then we have another approval of meeting minutes for our regular meeting that occurred at 7 p.m. Motion by Mr. Ampleman. Do I have a second?
Haley Wright, second.
Second by Ms. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. All right, on to new business. Item number 1 it was Ms. Wright requested that we look into a new reconnaissance survey or a new type of survey for the town. And upon further review, it appears that there is a grant available through SHPO to work on this, similar to what was proposed last year. So we just I'd like to open discussion on a new survey work plan. If anyone has any discussion.
Just pulling up the email from the state today.
Yeah, we did receive an email from Ms. Frances Stern regarding this type of work. I looked on the state's website today and saw that we would qualify for a new type of survey for properties that the municipality would oversee, along with a chip in from the municipality itself, similar to what we planned on doing last year.
And what was the allocations last year from the town as well, town board, and with an expected match?
Yeah, so
20% match.
no, that's this year's.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah. It was 15,000. The town agreed that if we had received the grant from the state, that they would match. We went for a $15,000 grant from the state. The town approved a match for that. Unfortunately, we weren't selected for that grant. This year, I think the percentages have changed. I believe there was some sort of like 80%, 20%.
Of what? Right, the recipient was required
Right.
to provide.
Yep.
So we think that's the 15, and then we pay 5. It's ultimately a $20,000 grant.
Yeah, I believe it would be less this time around, but I have to look into it further.
If I may ask for clarity, I apologize. I remember last year. What is the difference between a survey and then, like last year was looking at a full town plan? What would be the difference?
No, that's okay. So we would, I think after some further review, we would select an area to survey.
Be a little bit more depth.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to afford a full town survey at that level. So we would look at our blue rating system, and we'd also look on CRIS to determine if there was areas that were missing from our stock that we have, our surveys that we have. That might be a way to go. We had discussed previously on the board looking at more commercial properties. We don't really have a good survey of those. Unfortunately, we lost one down Harlem Road across from the Key Bank that was not identified in any survey that should have been identified in a survey.
So I'm looking at the grant I wrote last year.
Yep.
And it was actually for historic preservation design standards for the town.
Yeah, so that was a little different. That's right. Yep, thank you.
Establishing what would be the, oh, in this area.
The- The criteria design
By
standards, yeah.
type- Probably by typology of architectural design, like if this is a craftsman versus an art deco versus a colonial, yeah.
And this would just be a survey. Or however you decide.
To identify,
Specific to that.
and the point of surveys is to identify the cultural and architectural resources.
In the past, there's been what's called reconnaissance and then intensive level. There's a difference between those two.
Yep.
What,
Recons are a high level view of maybe a certain boundary of an area.
Drive-by.
A drive-by, if you would. They do sometimes identify specific resources, but only to identify them as resources that should be researched further as potential, more potential, and they would, they would point to an intensive level survey of that same property then.
And things can get overlooked.
Oh, absolutely, because
That's where we're at.
Well, they're not
Sure.
overlooked. The budget constrains how many properties can be included. And sometimes I've drafted RFPs so that the consultant, I say, here's 35 properties, look at these specific 35 properties, or we have 35 properties. You identify properties that fit within this amount. So it could be a negotiation, with the quotation process with a specific possible design professional who's providing the services to say, for this much money is what we expect to have in our budget, how many properties could you identify?
Yep. So I looked today, and the grant is not live yet. It's a preliminary. Her email recommended that we reach out if we were interested to develop a work plan with Ms. Stern herself. So that's sort of the discussion that we're headed towards now. Do we want to pursue this? And then,
Can we set up a small working group to
Yeah.
identify what the scope of the project would be?
sure.
Taking, of course, comments from the whole board
Well, I
now.
think we'd have to, because how do we get the biggest bang for our buck? It's like, do we do a really broad brush on a bigger area, or do we kind of hone in on selective areas that we already feel there's quite a lot there, and then get that really solidified and kind of eliminate any of the missing, anything that could potentially be missing, such as the one Brian just mentioned.
And I think to add on that, working on maybe, like I mentioned last month, is like putting in maybe 5, 10 a month that we kind of look through and go through that list and add up and be like, oh, actually, we already have the list right here. So if each one of us come up with 3 to 5 a month, and then we go through and I can just, say when this is constructed, what the style is, maybe some sort of importance for each individual of those buildings, that would set us up pretty well for when we do pursue a survey, because those also take a very long time to complete. So in the meantime, this might help us kind of in between.
Yeah, I think a working group would help set the parameters of the area we're looking at. And then if some board members, I think, wanted to go out and add, it would take away costs for the consultant because they wouldn't have to do that preliminary work. So that might be a way to go too.
If I may ask one more clarification question. I believe last year. Ballpark idea, is that what you developed in the board? Just, obviously, we're not bringing a resolution or anything.
No, yeah, thank you for that. We first need to look at the website to confirm what the max would be.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll develop that.
Yep. So we're not at that point, but yeah, thank you for acknowledging that.
And Mrs. Stearns would then also say, this is how much we would expect as a maximum ask for this project when that's discussed with her further.
All right, so I think next we want to establish a working group, which I'll be involved with, I would say.
I'll be involved too.
Okay. got
I will
two.
too.
Can we?
Got a question. With the information as it's compiled right now, is it possible that on a given street, you could just get a listing of, say, I picked Darwin just because I looked at that recently, but on a given street, get a list, 31, 33, 35, and 40 through 45 are not blue listed, but is there a way to pull that up right now, or is it, otherwise we got to go back and look through that binder and.
Right. Not easily. It's not easily in order, but yes, ideally you have all three surveys in front of you and you do like a check or check minus. I don't know. Yeah. It's on the town's website. Yeah. So that might be a way because you can search by street. Yeah. I think you have to click on each individual property though, correct? You can't, it's not like in the main.
You go to the comprehensive property information page and you search any property in the town. There'll be an indicator on that page if it is blue rated or if it's landmarked. So that is live. That's on our town website. We have discussed approaching the Realtors Association directly and working through them. That's a little ongoing, but it's a standard list for the town that's accessible at the moment. But we will, of course, follow up on our discussions about getting it to them as well.
I've got a silly question.
Oh, one, two.
So Williamsville properties are also in Amherst. Are those resources identified on the Amherst Comprehensive Property Management System?
I believe they are included. I would have to. I don't have indications for their landmarks, for instance.
Sure.
Norm has it out.
I don't know if you know of any off the top of your head that might be, but probably type it in.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a different law, right?
Okay.
So any structure over 50 actually has to go to HPC for laying down referral.
Referrals, yeah.
So that's a little bit different. But I don't know. I just know them by their names. I don't know them by their address. I'll just look up real quick.
But I did look it up.
But we have their list too.
While you're doing that, I guess clarification, another silly question. But so the ones that were identified on the website currently are from the 3 different survey lists we had.
Correct. Yes.
We
That's
just don't have
over.
one cohesive like Excel file or something that brings it all together.
I do have an Excel file. It's not live to the town or. 'cause
No,
it's-
but even like to Norm was I think suggesting, do we have a reference that puts them all in
into
one
into
spot
one
for-
document. Yeah, there is a document that I use internally for the building department's use as well as planning's. I can easily distribute that to board members.
Okay, well,
Um,
that's at least something rather than us, everybody looking up a
The same building
website
that's already
on,
there.
yeah.
Well, that's a lot easier.
Yeah. Tell you what, I will make a note. I'll send you all a copy right after this
So you
meeting.
do have like that magic document that at least puts everything that has been gathered to so far.
Yes. Yes. I will say, I like to use the appendix, or the appendices from the surveys because that's what's referenced in code. And it also conveniently has the information on its eligibility as well. So that's kind
So,
of why I like to use that document. But for just quick searches for properties, it's a useful tool.
Are they by street?
Yeah, so
you could organize.
a lot of it is by range. So it's you have
Mhm.
a lot of districts are just ranges of addresses. So it has those, but it's really just kind of a list, a raw list of all eligible properties in the town.
So what I would say is that I would make a request to Director Howard for this document before you release anything, because there may be some information that the town uses for certain purposes on that document. And you might want to give us a redacted version of it.
There's nothing too sensitive. If I'm really thinking about it, I guess I'm cautious about it because
Sure.
I want to make sure it's accurate, to be honest with you.
Okay.
See, that's what happens. And once you release it, yeah.
I would say that sounds crazy, but crazier things have happened.
James, what earlier,
Good point.
when you first replied, what's that called? Comprehensive real estate listing?
The comprehensive property information page. That's just a page for the town website. It's actually run by. Exactly. It's actually a handy tool if you want to look up your taxes or so around tax time. It's a handy for residents to understand their taxes, their school taxes, and in town.
All right, I have that marked to do. Are you looking for an address?
Yeah.
Oh, you have the search up. Okay. Come back to you.
I'm just gonna find out. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So I know Ms. Wright expressed interest in the working group. Do you think we could proceed with that? I don't know. Just trying to be not put ourselves in a position. I don't know. Kate has more expertise on that than I would.
For what?
Having Ms. Wright join our working group.
You can have 3 members as long as there's no conflicts.
Right. So this is to establish what would be the content of the grant application.
So I don't know. Better you're not on.
Which, yeah, I think maybe we should consult our legal before establishing it. So we'll do that first. Okay. Okay. So let's see if we can take care of that in the next week or two and then have a meeting after that and then decide.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
As long as the grant's posted.
Yeah, and this is preliminary. Yeah, the grant, it's one of those things where they announce it, so it's coming, but it's not live. I clicked on the thing today and it took me to the title page and that was it.
Do we adjourn the item for now then, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a discussion. There's no
Yeah.
vote on anything.
Okay.
So I don't think we need to make a motion. I think we can move on. Unless anyone else has any further discussion on the item. No? Hearing none? Okay. Let's move to item 2, under old business. 46 Gettsville Road, we have a local landmark nomination. Open for discussion. Um, all of you have packet in your packets, page 26. Ms. Wright found a building structural inventory form, the blue forms from Kathleen Howe from 1998 for this exact property. It's extremely detailed. It's a fantastic document. Yep.
Was it on Chris? I was
It was
wondering.
on Chris. It was on Chris. Yep. 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 Nope. This is
This is everything.
absolutely everything that we need. I believe it's got great photos, map, architectural description, description of Snyder. And all the features of the property. So that I forwarded that on today. It got added. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. I don't know. Does anyone have any further discussion?
I'm ready to make a motion.
I just, in terms of our application form, I think there was some things on here that could use some tweaking based on the one from 1998. There was some kind of like conflicts or like unknowns, which we would know based on what we're presenting in there. And then I'm not sure how our new form
Well, so we haven't
factors into this.
yeah, we haven't voted on that yet.
So we can use this form. Okay, that's
Right.
fine.
It was received with I mean, even when it was received, it was in October with it would have been the old form anyway.
Okay, that's just a legal or clarification kind of thing. It doesn't really matter to me which form just as long as the one we're using
Yeah.
is correct. And this other thing, and maybe Kate, so why we would be checking off items under historic district? It's
No.
not a historic district,
No, that's
right?
wrong again.
Yeah,
Right.
It's still wrong. So some of those things, and then,
It's just under 1 and 2 of historic landmark.
Yeah, those would have to be crossed off.
Yep.
Under, yep.
I don't, is that automatic? Is something wrong with the form?
Yeah, I feel like that got added from last one. Because
That's
last
the
one,
same issue last
only,
time.
right, only number 2 was shown, and now also it's showing number 1. That would be,
and then some of the other related,
no, 1 and 2, sorry.
the other related items, which I've been, someone confirmed the pool and the pool house are gone.
Yep, I had talked about that during the first brought this up.
Okay. that.
Both of those were demolished or covered up during the additions in the 90s. So that's why we're just landmarking the house, the building itself, instead of the actual property it's on.
Okay, and is the iron fence, cast iron fence still there, or is that that's gone too?
Yeah, it's just the house.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
clarify
for
what
sure.
was
Yeah.
still represented now in
Yeah.
the latest information versus what we would.
So typically, it is not just the structure, it is the property that's being nominated. It's just that the pool house and the pool are no longer
to be a
there.
Contributing.
Right, so it is the property that moves forward for consideration. But it's important to identify what's included, what's not included.
Or still.
So was your description that you wrote in here still?
No.
No.
After reviewing Ms. Howe's, hers was done better.
Okay.
More complete.
I just want to make sure that though, I was basing it,
Nope.
ready to move forward. You identified in your piece that's not included what
No.
is non-contributing, so that needs to
That's,
be pulled out.
that needs, right. So I
I
didn't,
think in my initial one, I did actually say that, but then I updated it, so I can add that in there. I think that was in my initial write-up, though.
What's that?
So on page
Yeah.
11,
That
list
those were-
major alterations.
Yeah.
So that needs to be included that the pool and the pool house were demolished.
yep.
Right, and the fence.
fence. That was wrought iron?
I think it's a cast iron, didn't it?
Iron, yeah,
Iron.
I don't know.
Was there anything else that was demolished?
Yeah, it appears, I know there's mention of Frederick Law Olmsted, or not Frederick's son, Olmsted designed elements in the landscape, and those don't appear extant any longer.
Cast iron fence.
There we go.
Yeah, wood and cast iron fences.
There are some sketches and drawings. So it's, you can see this drawing on page 23, figure 9. There's other drawings that go with this that show patios and steps and things around the house that are no longer there.
So then I would add on page 11 to comment to number 11 that the grounds were originally landscaped by Frederick Law Olmsted's son in 1924.
Yeah,
And they're no
an
longer-
improvement from the original. Yes. Improved by
Okay,
Olmsted Brothers Landscape
approved by.
Yep.
Grounds were improved
Improved.
by.
after the original construction. Yes. Well, that we believe. There's probably some of these old photos would probably show some of that, I would think. It's hard to decipher, but yeah.
And then add to the end of that, but no longer present on site.
Correct.
And I'm gonna hand you these changes.
And then see, just Kate, so here's it, so we can say the renovations according to were 1949.
Oh, that's in there now.
Yep.
Oh, that one is,
think you
and
were- yep.
then enclosed east porch,
Mm-hmm.
and added a fire escape. And then the addition of the detached garages, she had noted one was in 1941 and one was added in 1954. And then I'm assuming the apartment buildings, those were the 1998
Mhm.
additions.
Okay, why is that one crossed out?
Well, they're not, it's just
It's
the
just-
wackiness of the lines and the text going on
Okay.
over the lines. I thought the same thing.
It's not crossed
And I'm
out,
like, no,
correct.
it's not crossed out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there no stucco on there now? Because she had
There
pointed
is.
out
There is
there,
stucco.
okay, so it would be, you're keeping also track to stucco, and then for other, it was asphalt roof shingles.
And what about the vinyl?
Non-contributing, but we can assume that clapboard siding is underneath.
Yeah,
Yeah, she didn't have,
So if
oh, right, she
It
wouldn't.
wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
if you look at figure, well, okay, page 30, the bottom photo, which shows the wood clapboard siding on the enclosed porch to the east. Now that's covered in vinyl siding.
Yeah, and
But-
it wasn't taken off, it was just added
We have
on
a
top.
First-hand account that it was
Yeah.
covered over and that it's still extant underneath.
So that's
So
a
I'm gonna
vinyl
put
clapboard, but
Clapboard covered by vinyl.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't know if it's in.
at least are tracking whatever notes I had had.
Okay.
Still there.
Or mature trees was on technically, I think on hers. I assume, are there still mature trees on the site?
There are some, yeah.
Yeah, she denotes it, but doesn't give it, it's not
Like specific.
specifically, there's nothing that she marked on a map
No, it
to
just-
show.
It was just identifying mature trees as other attributing factors to the
Yeah, and-
overall
And what was
Like
the
aesthetic.
other identified under 9?
stone wall.
So there's stone terraces, there's a stone terrace on the north side of the home that appears to be original,
Yeah, just the stone wall.
and the stone wall.
It would have been like
Okay.
the fence and the pool house, but
Mhm.
since those are no longer, then I think that, like you said, should be the listed under the major alterations.
Okay.
where-
Yeah, there's a stone wall that links both sun porches on the south side and east side. It wraps around the perimeter of the home and it creates an enclosed area for a
Well,
patio.
the stone wall that I was referring to was the one that's on Main Street all the way down to Gettsville. That's
Okay.
outside. That's actually already eligible under
already
Chris.
landmarked. It was,
Yeah.
the
Well,
stone wall was landmarked in 2002 by this board. I just reviewed all those
yeah. Well,
articles.
That's another. That's the other part of it.
2002?
Yes, and upheld in 2005. The stone wall and gatehouse. There's quite a few articles about it.
Well, I guess if we're marking the stone wall, then we should probably acknowledge the gatehouse with that, no?
It's already well, because it's already landmarked and it was
just
part of the original.
contributing to it.
That's
I-
not, that's
I
on a
be-
different property though, correct?
It is now,
Yes.
but it is noted in Ms.
So is the
Wright's
stone
narrative.
Yeah, that's what I redid. I like added that to connect them a little bit
Yep.
more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would the application designate the entire parcel or just this structure on that parcel? Is it all of 46 here?
That's a good question.
Well, it's by property.
It's by property,
So there's a bunch of non-contributing buildings on the property.
so they should just be identified as non-contributing.
Which
It's a,
I think we said somewhere.
yeah, the parcel's known as 46 Gettsville. Is that the,
It ranges from 46, 50, 48. There's no like real number for it. Because it changed once the other buildings were added on, but it's still listed as all those different numbers.
So then would if it was designated in any particular changes or demoed, any of the other structures were proposed in the future, those would then fall under this umbrella of oversight in addition to this house?
that's where we'd have to make that distinction.
No, because they're non-contributing and they're less than 50 years also.
We'd have to
Yeah.
call that out if that's how we want to proceed,
Mhm.
or, go ahead.
So a property is nominated. Anything on the property comes before the HPC. So if it's demolished, if it needs a demo referral, it comes here. Or if it's proposed to be demolished, if it needs a demo referral, it comes here. If there is a new structure that goes up on that site, it comes before this board for a certificate of appropriateness because it is on a property that has been historically designated.
Even though the surrounding structures are non-contributing, what we're saying.
Correct.
But that would be taken in
we-
consideration at that time, no?
But this board provides a certificate of appropriateness for new structures on the property.
Sure. So that's what the crux of my question is, we're including this entire property, even though the primary structure value is this one house.
If it's one property, it's one property.
Okay.
Parcel.
Parcel. If it's identified by one SBL, that's what's being
Yeah,
nominated.
actually, that sort of is a question if it has an address range. How is it? Yeah, how would you hold up, Chris?
It's wrong on Chris.
Okay.
The
I mean, I
address.
guess this is the
46
same with the-
Gettsville, according to our town.
The,
record,
That
uh,
would mean it would come to
and
the
that SBL
board, to this
is the
board
SBL
for
for the address
approval.
at 46 Gettsville.
Then depending on what they're presenting and putting forth, I would say, if it was on one, I don't know, something they would want to do on one of the newer apartment buildings, I think that would kind of
Got it.
dictate
It's
or
the same
assist
as the
in
Art
the
Deco building on
direction
Main,
or
right?
a
That's a series of
decision.
addresses, right?
Right.
We're concluding
if it
that,
was-
we're thinking that's one site, so that's how this is.
So this is considered, according to the town's comprehensive property information system, its address is 46 through 58 Gettsville under the SBL that is listed on the screen.
Beyond just the apartment
Well, I guess it's whatever's under that yellow.
The property includes it, but that's not necessarily what's deemed contributing to the nomination.
But then to go on further, in the future, if one of those those outbuildings was to be demolished, revised, whatever, that application would still come out.
Yes. So I can explain this better, I guess, in a district, because that's usually where you find multiple buildings that have been nominated, and some are contributing and some are non-contributing. In a district, it's still a boundary, and there are many different properties within a district, or it could be at least 3, I think, in a district. And some have contributing value to the theme of that district, and some have non-contributing.
Era of significance.
The period of significance, there's different boundaries, right? There's a period of significance, there's a theme to the district. And in those cases, if work was being proposed or demolition was being proposed on one of the non-contributing structures, it still goes to a Historic Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness for those requests. Because in a district, those non-contributing properties still affect the cultural, they still affect the resource that is contributing in that district. So you could say someone wanted to tear one of those down and build a glass block, or a glass block building, something very, whatever. They could build, maybe they're allowed 10 stories in this area, and they said, I'm going to put a small footprint, 10 stories, it's going to look like it belongs in Toronto on this property. I'm not saying that's allowed. I'm saying, so this board would need to determine, is that appropriate on this site in that context? So that's how properties with multiple buildings or districts with contributing and non-contributing structures works.
I think the way you described it, district, that makes so much more sense to me. If I was thinking of it as just the actual building, but like looking at that could be a district. Like, and then you take the other buildings that are not contributing, but it's still within like that parcel.
But for districts,
Yeah.
you need a certain percentage of those properties identified to be, I think it's an 80-20 split usually. So let's say 80% of those buildings would need to be contributing to the theme within the period of significance to be considered a grouping. Here, this is a parcel, and it cannot be looked at the same by saying, well, there's more buildings on the site that are not contributing.
Percentages don't apply here.
The percentages don't apply, but when
Concept does.
the concept does. But when someone comes before the board, I mean, it's a very different lift to look at something to say whether the project being proposed, if it's on a different part of the building than what the reason for this property being nominated for, those buildings were not considered contributing. So therefore, it's just the appropriateness of how do they interact with the contributing part of the nomination.
Just for my edification, how would we describe the buildings that are there now surrounding it? So we don't think they're contributing, like what is,
Not contributing.
or right, not contributing.
They would just label it
That's what they
non-contributing.
are.
I just mean in your professional opinions, do you find them of unique character, of value to the site? Is there a prevailing character there that we'd want to preserve in addition to this building?
They were built,
I'm not familiar with the surrounding parts of this site.
They have another 30 years, right?
yeah. It says 98, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they were built in 1998. They're just non-contributing apartment buildings.
So we
for-
would say anything is appropriate for this site, I guess.
We
that's
don't
what I'm
give,
trying to
we,
get at.
we don't give a future board guidance on what's appropriate or not appropriate. I mean, we don't even have design guidelines within the town. So,
Yeah. I'm just struggling with the fact that we're going to tie up an entire site for one building that it has historic value. Very similar in the way that I feel about the bank on Main Street. But that's why I'm asking. That's all. I appreciate the input. But we have no choice. It has to be the entire site. It's all or nothing.
It's by parcel.
it's
Or
by
parcel, rather. It has
So
to be
right
all
now,
or
the
nothing.
entire parcel is blue rated.
Okay.
So I think
Oh,
this,
so
th-
they'd be coming to
I think, oh yeah,
the town no matter what.
they'd be coming to this board for a demo referral anyway if they wanted to do anything. I think this process actually cleans this up, right? Right now it's labeled as blue rated. This is clearly identifying that the mansion house is what's important on this site.
Correct.
And the other buildings on this site, this document gives dates to when they were built. It puts it all in one package. It says, those are non-contributing buildings, and now everybody's very clear about what the cultural resource is on the site.
Yeah, everything's clearly stated for a future board to make a determination down the road if it comes to that.
Because I love the house. or the apartment complex.
That is one board
I'm
member's
thinking about
opinion.
Regulations in general, that's
Thank you. That was a good question. Lots of discussion. Thank you.
So,
Maybe in 30 years when that time comes, it shows the evolution of the suburbanization of this area and build up of houses in need of.
Yeah. It's documented. Yep.
and I think to go to Jeff's point, it's still lacking on this form. I hope it's been added to this one. The period of significance is still not on the form. So the period of significance then is 1904. Is it through anything or just 1904?
Just
Okay,
1904.
yeah, we discussed that. Okay.
And
also helps
that's
to
confirmed
clarify
in the other one,
Parcel.
the structure inventory form.
Yep.
I did see.
Yeah.
1904.
I also think this is just really good research, as always, Haley. I just think it's very good research. I appreciate the level of effort put into this. Thank you.
You got some info?
Sure.
Have you collected the appropriate or crafted the appropriate
Sure.
motion?
I will make a motion to send the property at 46 to 58 Getzville Road with an SBL of 67.02-6-27.1 to public hearing for local landmark designation under criteria 1, associated with the lives of individuals or of people or of events significant to the national, state, and local history. And number 2, embodies the distinctive characteristics of a type, a period, or a method of construction, with the application as modified with markups being given to Mr. Quinn, as discussed at this evening's meeting, including a period of significance for the property of 1904 that clearly identifies that the apartment complexes built in 1998 are non-contributing to the site. And the application also identifies that the pool house, the cast iron and wood fence have been demolished, and that the building was adaptively reused as an apartment complex from
1949.
an estate mansion in 1949, that there is an enclosed porch that has been added with fire escapes, and that the detached garages built in 1949 and 54 were not original to the building and are deemed non-contributing. And that's it.
All right, so that's the motion. Is there any discussion? Or do we have a second?
Haley writes second.
All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Mancuso. Amplement.
Agreed.
Swartz.
Agree.
Waterman Culpo. Hershey. Kenzie.
Agree.
Right.
Agree.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Now
We
just
will,
set the public
we'll
hearing
set a
date.
public hearing date.
We already have 2 in March.
Mhm.
It's not enough time. I don't think,
So
is it?
It's exactly 30 days.
It's exact, yeah, but we have to get it,
Actually,
in-
no, February short.
yeah, it's short, right.
I was thinking the same thing when we were trying.
Yep.
So April,
Yeah, did we, forgive me,
April 8th.
April 8th is our April meeting. I should have the calendar up here. Yep.
So a 6:30 scenario on April 8th?
That's what's proposed.
Can that work for the commission?
Yeah. Does that work for the town so far? 6:30 PM.
Yep.
Correct. If the town could please confirm. Before, or if there's any changes, please notify us. Yeah, there we go. Do we need to make a motion to set a public hearing?
I believe
my
that-
motion
yeah.
was to send it to public hearing,
Okay.
so then we just chose the date. I
Chose the
think we're
date.
good.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone, for your work on this. All right. We've got item 3 under old business is the HBC Spring Roundtable. I think that event should be planned separately from Preservation Day.
I think we can continue to push it out as it's only February and we don't need to plan it more than a month in advance.
Okay. Is there a time that works?
I'll have to look and see what we did last time. That was
April,
Pretty successful.
April, May? Is that what we're aiming?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? Nope. Yeah, possibly. Yep. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It was a Thursday. Yep. Well, let's,
I think
yeah,
we're shooting for May because April has a long break in there.
Yeah.
So we're shooting for May
okay.
on a Thursday.
If the town could please look at the calendar and see when this room, are we planning on having it here again?
Yes,
Yeah. Could see when this room is available on the Thursdays in May. That would be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you much.
Good participation.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Preservation Day 2025. I sent an email to Ms. Stiver. She's here today. We think we can have a meeting in the next couple weeks between Mr. Hershey, Ms. Mancuso, myself, and Ms. Dr. Stiver to try to plan something. I believe You had mentioned you had it in your calendar for June 7th or something to that effect.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm sitting so far away.
Nope, that's okay.
We currently have it on the calendar 7.
Okay.
Carrie, can I just have you go up there just so it's like on the record?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's currently on the BNHV calendar for June 7th, and I think that happened because we were originally discussing May 24th,
Yeah.
which Kate helpfully pointed out is Memorial Day weekend and not a great idea. So we had moved it to the 7th, but I know you mentioned that the commission was discussing moving it out even further to maybe remain in keeping with the original August timeframe.
Yeah,
So
to give us more time to plan. Is that something that would work for BNHV? If you have it on your calendar, we don't want to execute something or.
I think that it's something we can certainly discuss. I will say that BNHV has a new event on the calendar later in August. That it'll be August 22nd and August 23rd. So if we did want to do it in August, I would recommend doing it earlier in the month, which we normally do anyway. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to mess up your calendar if you've already told your audience that something was happening in June.
no,
This
it's
is
more of
something
a,
that could
it's
be.
more of a space use
Okay.
issue. So we had put it on the calendar so that we had the space available, but August should work out well if that's what we decide to do as well, as long as again it's at the close to the beginning of the month.
Okay.
Yeah. August 2nd is that first Saturday. So if we wanted to stay in keeping with what we've done historically, that would be.
What was the, knowing that we've done it in August, prior years, the idea to go to June, there must have been some benefit from considering that date, and now we're, yes, and that, I concur with that, yeah, August can, probably it's the hottest part of the summer. Anyway, June is before school gets out, not right in finals time, so it's June 7th is sort of midway between school getting out and then graduation and then Memorial Weekend. So I'm just inclined to think that attendance would be better in June than it would be in August.
And we could target the school backpacks instead of the campers, to advertise. And in June 7th, if school was still, we could try to, or send something specifically to all the third grade teachers and then the social studies teachers in the middle schools in Williamsville and the high schools. 4th grade. Yeah.
Are we thinking about focusing on the presentations like we did this past
That
year?
would alter the programming if we wanted to attract school-aged demographic.
I'm not on the planning committee, so I'm going to defer to those that are of what they want what the program to be.
Yeah, let's have our meeting.
Yeah, it's all stuff that we can discuss in the meeting. I will say, depending on what the program ends up being will, impact which spaces in the museum we'll need to use. So, the calendar will be affected a little bit by that, but either of the dates that we're talking about, there's nothing else on the calendar at the moment, so.
Okay.
Maybe not as many of the presentations and, maybe.
Not necessarily, or maybe there were, like, we had a lot of wonderful presentations, but maybe it's, and they were quick and there was no breathing room. Maybe we have like 3 presenters at like 10, 12, and 2 that are established, well advertised through all of the more social preservation minded outlets to get that word out to those people. And then it sounds like at that time, you already have a great audience for a kid, aspect to things, maybe accommodate both.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we had done in the past. We had, a few presentations kind of sprinkled throughout the day, and then the rest of the day we had other activities and tours and things going on. So that would be kind of going back to the previous model, which, I think is fine. I will say, I think that might have been part of why we were discussing changing the date, because outside in the village in the middle of August, in the middle of the summer, can be a bit oppressive. So
50 degrees.
it was raining, yeah. So yeah, those are the risks that you take when you plan any sort of outdoor event. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yes, that is true.
And oppressive, and we've had 50 and rain.
Yes.
So.
And all in August somehow.
All right, so we're thinking of doing like a multi-prong sort of approach that.
Well, you guys decide.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we did send out an email this afternoon with some potential dates for a meeting, so
Yeah.
we can get that on the books and
Yep.
keep discussing.
We should, with the preservation, or with the roundtable, publish to those people that attend Preservation Day, because a lot of these presentations very well could be of interest to the people that attend the roundtable too, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Item 5, we've got the training and the website. Maybe we should think about splitting these off in the future. But one thing tied to the website was our form, our landmark designation form needed to be updated to match our statute. And we have a draft of it here that was sent out yesterday. So what it does is it matches under the criteria, those under individual landmark, those 5 criteria match what is in the statute. Yeah, that's why. Oh, you're pulling up your email. A district. I think there's there's 4 types of landmarks that we can set forth. One is our typical individual landmark. The second is a historic district, which is these items 1 and 2, which again matches what's in the statute. An interior landmark, items 1 and 2, and then a scenic landmark. Again, that's item 1. So now what this does is it aligns, that way there's no confusion when we go to look and say, we thought it was 1 or 2, or what was the criteria. Now it matches exactly what it says in the statute. But we have to vote on it so they can put it up live on the website. So this item is open for discussion before we do that.
There needs to be a section that says period of significance with a line. There needs to be a piece added that says period of significance with a line, so that somebody can identify what the period of significance is.
Where should that go?
Can go under, not C, I don't know what LD means up here. I think it's supposed to be, I don't know.
It could be its own
I think it's just a stamp.
It could be 9 just for ease, just somewhere, just has to be somewhere.
I think it should be under, because those are the 2 things that we reference all the time, are the criteria and then the period of significance or era of significance. I think it should be
4C property.
before C. Yep.
Kind of either a separate line, a bullet point, something.
Yeah, I would say that the general public probably wouldn't understand what that means. They might try to write a description in that section. We're looking for a year
Or years.
or years. So in parentheses,
Like a
it is a line, but in parentheses, you'd write year or years or something like that to identify what we're looking for.
Right. I mean, you could just say, you could give a definition kind of like what period of significance was.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good idea to have.
Yeah, is it in our, forgive me, I don't know if it's in our statute, if the definition is, we have our list of
Just-
definitions.
So if you Google it, it's a period of significance is the time period when a property was associated with important events, people, or activities. I'll pull it up.
We have a list of definitions in our statute.
No, but I was thinking under section B is saying the bullet points of what they could, what they should do, indicate criteria, provide supporting written narrative, attach supporting document. Maybe the fourth bullet point would provide period of significance.
Okay.
So it's at least identifying it as a highlighted thing, this is what you should do. And then just like you said, I think after these four major categories, then we provide the definition of it, and then that's where they enter the period of significance.
I like it.
Okay, found a spot.
And it's not listed under the,
Yeah.
it should be. I mean, that would clear things up.
Yep. Another story for another day, I think. Alter our statute. That needs to go to the town. Forgive me, I'm reading.
I just searched it.
There's nothing in under
No.
number 8.
Nope, we don't have significance and we don't have period of significance.
Okay.
But that's not to say that it can't be added here. 'Cause I think
Correct.
it's super helpful.
Well, especially if we define it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, yeah.
All right, so does someone, what do you want? You want us to mark up something and then send it?
Yeah, actually.
Is that would that be okay?
Provide some markups to me, and I can make the changes.
Okay.
Then we can't do anything with it until we get the final draft.
I think that Jen's description was pretty accurate. It's just to put another bullet point and vote on it.
That's a PDF though, right? That you're,
Yeah, I can't do this, but
well, I can give you my markups or copy of it.
Perfect. If it's easier for you all, I can send the Word version
Do we need to vote on
to
it?
email right after this meeting. And you can mark it up that way. Either way.
No. You can hold it. Yeah, doesn't matter. All right, let's review the updated one and we'll hold a vote. So for the next meeting,
And James will send us a,
circulate a updated draft.
well, no, he's gonna send us the Word file to update.
Okay. Do you mind doing that, Jen? Are you sure? Okay. Thank you.
I never sent email, but.
No, yeah, well,
I can at least update it. But I just want to confer with you guys to make sure the definition for the period of significance is what.
I think we could probably do that over email.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. As far as training, another one is being offered. I know Brian sent information out. This upcoming one looks pretty good concerning state rules and regulations. So I don't know if everyone received that email. I think it's coming up at the end of the month. Yeah, 28th. There's another training. Oh, there we go. There is one tomorrow for the.
Yeah, that one I'm interested.
There we go. No, not that one. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. It's coming up. There we go. The 20th. There it is. Oh, Thursday, February 20th. Yeah, the neon sign. There's another one I thought. That's okay.
Under training, can we also talk about the statewide preservation conference?
Sure.
So in Francis's email, it did identify that this year's conference was May 6th through 8th in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, Poughkeepsie this year.
So that we can plan on budgeting, because we do need some probably new things to advertise Preservation Day. Is anyone planning on making that trek to Poughkeepsie? I don't plan on it.
I was not planning on going.
But for somebody that's on the commission and wanted to go there, we have budgeted funds. Can those funds be used to support that trip?
Yeah.
Okay.
So funds are, well, admission to the conference is usually, not saying it's always, but usually covered by the state. So there's a fee, $275 or something like that fee to,
You get a scholarship.
you get a scholarship from the state, and that covers your costs for the ticketing to get into the event for 2 or 3 days or whatever it is. And then there are, most government entities use the OGS's reimbursement for hotel stays. I'm not saying that I think the town would have to approve that. If you wanted to use funds to attend, get reimbursed by the town through our budget, we would have to vote on that.
I just wanted to clarify. Anyone here?
Yep.
So that was it on the, I was just identifying where and when it was.
Yeah, they made that announcement earlier today.
Keep a lookout. That's another one, sort of like throughout the date. but
Yep.
You can't actually apply for scholarships yet.
Right. Okay. All right, so that concludes item 5. Any board member have any miscellaneous items they'd like to bring up?
I do have a miscellaneous request. As a precursor to each individual member of the board looking at properties for potential recommendation for designation, I would find it super useful if in one of our future meetings, doesn't have to be the next one, doesn't have to be in 2 months, but just somewhere down the line, if maybe we reviewed the list of blue rated buildings as a group. And I would find a lot of value in, if anybody knows, I'm sure some of you do, the history of how that list was developed, who developed it, and what are the implications of a property that is blue rated, or what does that entail? Because we make a lot of decisions based on that list, and I think that would just be really useful as a semi-new member.
Supposed to find blue rated properties or not?
Not blue rated. So in this case, I think it would be good to go over the blue rated properties and kind of like how that came about. What's the criteria behind that as well? I was requesting just overall buildings that you may think could potentially be blue rated. Yeah.
So just for starters, you can access all 3 surveys on the Town of Amherst website. If you want to just peruse what's been accepted. But yeah, I would say that would have been covered a couple years ago by our training that we used to receive. I think one of our trainings was our local statute and what's covered under blue rating and things like that. So now we have to kind of do it ourselves. I think that's more of a working session that would occur before one of our meetings. We could hold a training perfectly within our legal rights to hold a training for the group. I would say probably set it at 6 p.m. Before one of our meetings. Probably not at the April meeting now because we've got a public hearing on the books. Maybe we think about doing it at our May meeting, or we can hold a special training session if everyone's in agreement on a date. And, look at when this room is available. That'd be,
And you can invite the town board members.
yeah, and of course, yeah, the town board members would be welcome. Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, great idea. Do we want to talk about a date, or do we want to have some couple discussion items and then discuss it at our next meeting? So we have nothing to present right now. We just, kind of have we have printed copies of the surveys on file.
Yes,
we have the
so
Excel.
I'll be forwarding you the Excel sheet that we keep internally. I've even made a map townwide of all of our blue rated properties. That's not a live map either, but that's just something internally that we have. It's a wish list item. I'd like to have it published on our website eventually. So yeah, at least that'll be
I
a
don't
good.
want to make it harder than it
No,
has to
it's-
be.
this is all
I think it
stuff
would just
that's
be good
created.
for transparency too. Like that was on the record. We reviewed it. The public could see what that the background and all that is. Would help me as a board member.
Yeah, of course. No, I think it's beneficial to have. It's nothing that I would need to start from scratch or create. It's just about sending you guys the materials. So that's an easy delivery I can give you guys.
All right, so in my correspondence to Dan Howard, I'll mention this as well, that we want to set something up like this. We'll think about maybe just a pin in May before our May meeting. That might work for everybody, but I'll send an email first.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Earlier in the meeting, the discussion of properties that we individually think would be candidates to be blue listed. Then we also discussed in doing a survey with a contract company that we would give them a very narrow strip of Amherst. I say very narrow, but somewhat not the entire town, and to focus on. Shouldn't we coordinate the preparation of these lists here that we're doing with an area that we want to target?
Yeah, so that is,
That, when I say target, an area that we would hire somebody to do a survey.
yeah, I would say that's something probably the working group would focus on. And then, and then we would say like, oh, if we decide, if the working group decides, like there's 6 areas or something like that, maybe we could do it,
And I think just to add to that, if we all kind of collaborate in the meantime and put this together, I can always put together an interactive map so we can actually see a heat map of where most of these buildings might be kind of in, and that we can base that and pass that along to whoever.
Yeah, of course, no one's stopping you from going out and looking at properties. Yeah.
Well, can I take a quick survey? We've talked about Snyder for the past 2 years.
Yep.
Is this something we still want to continue to to pursue is the Snyder area, and so keep that kind of as a boundary for now? Yes?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I'm not dictating, I'm asking.
I would say like Snyder and Eggertsville.
I was gonna ask like how Edgar's, that becomes already too big or something on the table at this point? We're so.
I think it becomes bigger, and I think Eggertsville was developed separately, mostly I think as post-war. So unless I'm missing something, I think that if you want to keep making sure that those early or those late 1800s, early 1900s structures in Snyder are protected, I think you identify what's missing from the blue rated list for that era first, and then see how many properties you've generated to see whether you continue to increase the boundaries to fit a certain dollar amount for a consultant. That would be my opinion.
Well, and that makes me think, like, time-wise, to kind of focus in on that, it makes me think of, like, Swarmville.
Right, that's the other target area,
Anything
right.
That
Right.
covered, but that would
Right.
be, so what were, historically speaking, what was around back in the 1800s, and maybe start with those ones, because that's gonna limit our areas, even if they're multi-areas.
Right.
And there is some things like if you want to go on the New York State CRIS website, you just click and it brings up what they've already got established. Like there's some areas like archaeological areas off like New Road and things like that that we wouldn't think of,
Right.
but New Road off Millersport. So I'm just, that's a completely random one, but if we're looking at Snyder, you could pull up Chris, see what's already been established, see what they have eligible and not, because they sometimes make their own determinations on things without our consultation. And then you can see their rationale for why they think it's eligible. So that might be a good place to start too. You can look on Chris's website, CRIS, without a login. You can look as a guest. It makes it easier. And maybe that's something we can look at too during our training, how to access Chris, because that's an easy resource that's available to the general public.
Or I can give a tutorial as soon as we end the meeting.
Or we can do
A
it
quick
right now. All right. Any further miscellaneous discussion? Nope. Hearing none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Waterman Caldwell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Have a good night.